Hi YouTube family, Dr. H the Cryptopractor. And in this video I'm going to answer the question, what is a cryptocurrency and what is crypto used for? And stick around until the end where I have some gifts for you to help you more safely buy and sell crypto. And we're going to get going right now. So here's my guarantee. And here are the Cryptopractic 10 Commandments. For a deep dive into these bad boys, top right. So what is a cryptocurrency? A cryptocurrency is a digital or virtual currency that uses cryptography for security and operates independently of a central bank. Some of the most well-known cryptocurrencies are Bitcoin, Ethereum, and the upcoming altcoin Hex. So this is the official definition. Do you feel smarter? Probably not, if you are anything like I was when I first got into crypto. So this channel was established to give hands-on practical edutainment to new crypto investors, blossoming neophytes, and the next generation OGs. So if that is of interest to you, boop the like, spank the free subscribe, and ding the notification bell to all. And as Cairo, not crypto, is my main gig, when I drop my next video or live stream outside of the regular times, you will be the first to hear. And stay right until the end as I have some awesome free gifts for you. To truly understand cryptocurrency, let's start with value exchange. So back in ancient times, before money was invented, if you were a labourer and you did a day's work by adding value to the turnip farm by ploughing soil to get it ready for planting, you were most likely paid in, you guessed it, turnips. But I would imagine after a few months of ploughing and eating nothing but turnips on the turnip farm, you'd be getting a bit bored. And you'd maybe go to the local market and exchange your turnips for some potatoes and some carrots and maybe a few apples. But then, what if you wanted an iPad and the iPad seller already had a shit ton of turnips? That is technically called a coincidence of wants. So now you're stuck, unless you kill him and take what you want, which many nation states did back in the day, and some would say still do. So if you wanted fancier items like land or horses, you need to be carrying a fancier commodity, like a boatload of cattle for eating or trees for building. Enter the Phoenicians, who were sea traders from what is now Lebanon, Israel, Syria area, who literally took a boatload of cattle everywhere they went to buy stuff. Up until 1500 BC, all money was cattle, lambs, goats or pigs, live money that was real life support wealth, wealth you could actually eat. Realizing that it was a logistic nightmare to go around the ancient shopping malls buying the 14th century BC equivalent of iPads with a giant wallet full of cattle, they developed an iron ring with horns on which could be held in the hand. Each iron ring represented a cow to be delivered to the bearer at a later date. Now, instead of a ship and 20 sailors and a lot of cow shit to deal with, our trader just had a box of metal rings which were effectively the first promissory notes. This was great for the people who had seen and trusted the Phoenicians. They'd seen them before arriving with their boatload of cattle, exchanging the cattle and leaving. But what if they hadn't? So when the Phoenicians got to the new lands who previously hadn't seen their boats loaded with cattle and the iron rings with horns, it didn't cut it anymore.
You're a scammer. You are a fucking scammer.
They realized they needed a widely accepted unit of value exchange. And so instead of rings of iron, discs of precious metal with stamps on, mostly silver, some gold, became the thing. They called them shekels. So these were trustless coins. So carrying around your trustless precious metal was good. No one needs to trust your promissory note in the form of an iron ring with horns to be sure that they get your cows. You give them the silver and gold coins for their stuff, spices, wine, olive oil, etc. They give you coins for your cows. Everyone is happy until you end up in a dark alley and someone does a 5 shekel wrench attack on you. So the moneylenders formed banks to hold your precious metal and gave you a banknote which promised to pay the amount on the note backed by the precious metal they had in their bank. This is known as the gold standard currency. This worked pretty well until around World War I, when gold stocks were sold by Germany to finance the war efforts, and the monetary system was changed to a paper mark system, backed by the ability of the government. This is now termed a fiat currency, which is Latin, and it means let it be done, or make it so. Kind of arrogant, because what the nation is saying is, I don't really have anything to back this up with, except that I'm big and awesome and my people are productive, or I can raise taxes or go to a war to back up the promissory note that I've given you. But as the Weimar government found out, there were drawbacks, where the money's inflation skyrocketed beyond the government's ability to print it, and bread that cost 20 marks 1 year later cost 5 million marks, which led to the Second World War. 40 million deaths later, everyone agreed that maybe they didn't handle the economics after World War I too well, which had caused World War II. And the Bretton Woods gold standard arrangements were put in place, tying the major governments to the dollar backed by gold, believing it would have a more stabilizing effect. And this worked well, but it was scrapped in 1971 as it was too expensive and restricted flexibility in financial management. And back to the fiat system. Despite it not working well as a model for the Weimar government between the wars, all the major players moved to a fiat make it so money system. This has the advantage of the economy being more controllable by the government and be more conveniently traded between different groups, and the disadvantage of inflation and political aims dictating whether the money printers are on or off. So now you and I, as value adders to the economy, find ourselves locked into a system driven by political aims, which because of inflation devalues, or some would say steals, the value of our money, and there is inherent political unpredictability in the actual value of our unit of account. So what is the alternative? If we rewind to 1971, when the US was taken off the gold standard, at the same time an engineer in the world of computing, which was mostly restricted to the defense and space industry, sent the first ever email. 10 years later, this is my computer. When I was a 13-year-old coder, it was called a ZX81 and was amongst the first ever personal computers. That's for those of you that are under 50 years old. And the language it used was called BASIC, and it would be copied out of a magazine. It would take me 48 hours straight coding over a weekend to produce this. Put a comment below if you remember computing in the 80s. But now computing was being done by the masses. The World Wide Web was invented in 1989 by Tim Berners-Lee, and the first website came in 1991. In 1994, the first online shopping occurs. In the 2000s, social networking began, and in 2007, iPhone was launched. Information becomes available equally to the masses. In 2009, Bitcoin, the first cryptocurrency, is created by an anonymous individual or group of individuals under the pseudonym Satoshi Nakamoto. And in 2010, Bitcoin is used for the first time to purchase goods when a programmer buys 2 pizzas for 10,000 Bitcoin. 3 years later, Bitcoin is valued at $1,000, so the pizzas effectively cost $10 million. Not a great deal. But more importantly, modern value exchange between individuals had taken place outside of the direct control of the ruling body, and thus our relationship with our government had changed. Implications for this continue to become apparent as the space and adoption grows. So just what is a cryptocurrency in practical terms? Now, if you go to your bank and deposit fiat currency, there are tellers that record transactions on a central but private computer system ledger. And there is a security system and vaults to protect any cash you deposit there. It's your money, but it's under the control of the bank, which reports to the government. If the government or the bank wanted to freeze the account, it could under certain circumstances. In a cryptocurrency, there are no tellers, just code that records all transactions on a publicly viewable database called a blockchain. Unlike the centralized bank computer, the blockchain is hosted on multiple computer systems or nodes owned by many different people all around the world. and thus it is decentralized, unlike the bank system. The database, like an Excel spreadsheet, has data written on it, but unlike Excel, once data is written, it cannot be changed. There is a method of agreeing that the data is correct on all nodes called a consensus mechanism. With Bitcoin, this mechanism involves data miners and is called proof of work. The consensus mechanism that involves individual stakers is called proof of stake and is used with Ethereum. Further details on consensus mechanisms in the video once it's produced, top right. In the crypto space, coins can be bought, sold, or sent to another address. If a coin like Ethereum is linked to its own blockchain, it is considered a cryptocurrency. If it is hosted by another blockchain like my favorite altcoin Hex, it is known as a token. For more on different types of crypto coins, including altcoins and stablecoins, see top right. There are also various methods of generating passive income using cryptocurrency. Coins can be traded, hodled, or used to provide liquidity, or locked up to provide stability, yield, and price appreciation. More details, top right. As someone who highly values learning, I personally have many mentors in the crypto space, ranking Plankton, Dolphin, Whale, and Crypto God Mentor. Check out my criteria in the description, and let's hear what my ultimate mentor, the Crypto God Mentor, thinks cryptocurrency is.
I mean, here's how it works. Money is just some crap that the government prints out of thin air that people think is worth money because other people think it's worth money. And so there's a probability that you'll be able to exchange your fake printed out of thin air crap that, by the way, they don't even print it. The majority of it's not even printed. It's just literally digits on a screen. So that's what money is. It's literal crap that's made up, that's backed by nothing, that only goes down in value, period. And that everyone sacrifices all their hours of their life for. So if you wanted to build a better solution to that the government couldn't print out of thin air for a laugh, because everyone else can go get their new printed out of thin air money, they don't need yours. And so every day your money's needed less and less and buys less and less. You used to be able to buy a Rolex at retail. Now they cost 2x retail. Why? Because they're printing money for a joke. You used to be able to buy a share in Microsoft for far less than you can now. Why? Because they're printing money like a joke. So if all money is a thing that's supposed to be scarce, that's supposed to represent the scarcity of human time and resources, well, we can do that on our own. So our own made up out of thin air digits on a screen are more scarce and more trustable, more secure than the government's made out of thin air, guaranteed to go down in value garbage. So all Bitcoin is, and all cryptocurrencies are, is an Excel spreadsheet on the internet that you need your password to spend your money. And they inflate by about 1.2% a year so that people keep the sheet honest. That's it. That's all it is. It's a big Excel spreadsheet where if you have your password, you get to spend your money.
So next we're going to discuss the use for a cryptocurrency. But before discussing the next segment, I have a gift for you. For all of you who have watched through my 6 crypto introductory video series, I have a free 10-page PDF guide for you, creating your own crypto strategy. This guide includes hints and tips to help you find your best mentors, and I also include details of all my Plankton, Dolphin, Whale, and God mentors, with biographies and links directly to their resources and some of their best interviews. Watch out for this icon and record the letter that appears on it in order of the videos 1 to 6 so that you have the password to claim your free guide. Further details are down in the description. So just what is the use of a cryptocurrency? The use of a cryptocurrency divides into 2 main use cases which have been modeled to drive each other along an S-curve. And at the end, I'm going to propose a 3rd use case which very few people acknowledge. Number 1, utility. Now this can be realized at the time or it can increase over time. Examples of utility: peer-to-peer transactions, store of value, a medium of exchange for goods and service, a highly mobile store of value, censorship-resistant money. It could be a unit of account, online gambling or gaming, high volatility, but it can be linked to silver, gold and USD. And if true DeFi, it is trustless, i.e. there is no middleman. It also has a catastrophe resistance utility. And number 2 is speculation. This is price appreciation, number go up, the one that most people look for. passive income, staking and yield, liquidity providing, yield farming. And on the S curve, as utility increases, adoption increases and speculation reduces. And there is a secret third use case, and that is number 3, the medium for innovation. This is the catalyst moving speculation towards utility much quicker with higher potential innovation levels. Some examples are top right. And just down below and in the description, I have some free gifts for you. On the left, a video, what to do before you buy cryptocurrency. And on the right, I have a video that's been specially selected for you. I think you're going to enjoy it. See you on the next one. Dr. H, out.